Prague's Museum of Natural History, talking with Jill Peirce of London, England. Jill is an expert in Mongolian overtonal chanting. So Jill, tell me something about your work with sound.
Well, I'm trying to, I like to think that to re-enchant means to make magical through chanting. And what has happened to our society is we've become disenchanted, which literally means that we've stopped chanting. And this has been a gradual process in what we call the developed Western society. The more developed our society, the less we chant and sing. And chanting is a very powerful way of healing and a way of tuning ourselves, with our environment, with our family, with the sacred place, with the sacred time, keeping us in tune with all our environment and with God. And we stopped doing that. We started to stop doing that when we stopped believing in God. When we started measuring things in the 17th century, and we found that it felt better, and we felt we had more control by measuring than we did by chanting and by praising God, by petitioning God, and by participating with God, which are the three ways that we've always made a reciprocal relationship with he or she who seemed to be in control of our life and destiny. And when we stopped doing that, we felt that counting gave us a greater sense of control of our environment and meant that we ourselves had a greater chance of survival.
But why this particular Central Asian shamanic approach to it?
Well, what's happened now is that what we found is that science, since the 17th century, the development of science, the direction of science, has quite far from giving us the control that we thought it was. It's led us in an unprecedented way to be, and only through science, to be less in control of our environment than ever anybody has ever been. We have never been in such a dangerous situation. We have never been so vulnerable, and this is entirely because of science. And so all the control that we thought we were gaining has actually turned out to be quite the reverse. And so we are completely out of control. And so we again have to find out, how do we do it? If science has failed, what other ways may succeed? What other ways can we again create a reciprocal relationship with this great and powerful force? And so we have to look at the old traditions, and do we go back to being good Christians, good Hindus, good Muslims, or good Jews, or do we try and, if we're a Hindu, become a Muslim, if we're a Buddhist, become a Christian, if we're a Christian, or do we try and reinvent it all? Or the problem really is, what song do we sing? And so what I've tried to do is to find a way of chanting which is deeply cultural. It comes from Central Asia, and in particular Mongolia. But what I think is so extraordinary about this way of chanting is that it deals with sound, with the harmonics of sound, which is a way not of culturally dividing the octave, which is what all other forms of music have as their central core, which is that if you divide the octave, this is a cultural affair. How you do it differs whether you're Indian or whether you're Western. But what this is based on the harmonic series, which is simply a way of making our own geometry audible. It's a way of allowing us to hear in a sonorous way our own structure. And this is a profound recognition. It's a profound remembering, because we are hearing what we are.
So it's a kind of organic music, or organic sound.
Absolutely. It's the most organic sound, because we're making audible our biology.
Well, I brought you here to this wonderful Baroque room because I was hoping that perhaps you would honor us with an example of this, since I'm sure it's easier to hear than to describe.
Yes.
Do you think you're up for that?
Yes.
Okay, my dear. Please have a go at it. David White, a transplanted Yorkshireman, lives in Washington State, USA. He is a published poet and a performer of his own poetry and the poetry of others. His work reflects a special sensitivity to the ecological crisis and the problem of a burgeoning planetary population. You mentioned this concept, the ecological imagination.
Yeah.
So obviously this is sort of the distillate for you of
Yes.
some of your thinking.
Yes.
So say something about it. What is it exactly?
Well, it's an imagination where the image itself has many different realities constellated within it. It isn't an image that you're trying to impose on the world. It's an image that's received after you've remained quiet and you're willing to pay attention to the miracle of creation as it is. Now, that miracle may take the form of despair and alienation, as it has over the last 60 years, but you pay attention to it. You know, we live in a monocultural society where you plant wheat in one field and you spray down on either side so you get one crop. And the soil, which comes from the same root as the word soul, suffers as a result. You know, in the eastern Palouse of Washington State, they've lost 25 to 50 feet of topsoil, you know, through intensive mining, almost mining agriculture. You know, here we are in the Botanic Gardens in Prague, where plants have been brought from all over the world. In some ways, it's a wish by humanity to recreate the beauty and imagination of the rainforest, or of an ecology where things fit together exquisitely. Mm-hmm. And we have this inside us. We have this patterning, this understanding that the world fits together absolutely exquisitely, and we have a possibility of fitting together too. So the poet remains silent, looks out at the world, receives all the images that comes in, and tries to say the one word that represents the whole ecology of everything that is received, and hopefully will give birth to that world in the word, in the line.
This suggests somehow that the word is made flesh. Or in your metaphor, the flesh is made word.
Yes, or the word is made ecology.
The word is made ecology. Yeah. Well, so this is an aesthetic of nature, almost Emersonian in its scope. This is a far cry from futurism or the glorification of the technological that a lot of 20th century poetics has been about.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as a part of a conservative impulse in poetry or a reforming impulse? How does that work?
No, I don't see it as being conservative. It may be looked at that way from the areas of art which, say, Andy Warhol inhabited, where the whole emphasis was on the latest wave that was breaking on the shore.
Fashion.
Yes, fashion, and the whole sea that was behind each wave as it came upon the shore was ignored. And so I think what there is now is a resting back, a swimming out, a diving down into that sea to re-establish our eldership. I think much of what's happening in the 20th century is a re-establishment of eldership. I mean, here we are in Prague. Prague has been asleep, almost like Rip Van Winkle for the last 40 years.
Anyway, 40 years, possibly longer.
And it's awaking again. It's awaking, and there's so much awaking in the world today. And I think poetry has always been the art where you remind people of what life is about and what is essential to it and what's as Pericles